Yo, man, you killed 6 people?
Huh?
Did you kill 6 people, sir?
No.
Huh?
13. It just
You killed 13?
13 people.
Okay. Why'd you do it?
The 7. Oh my. Dude.
Try to do all I, can to help them, to save them. But I couldn't. And that's weighing heavy on my heart.
You know that feeling when you think you know someone? When you're absolutely certain they could never hurt a fly. Well, on January 10th, 2026, in a tiny rural community in Mississippi, that assumption shattered in the most horrific way imaginable. In just under 5 hours, 24-year-old Derica Moore turned a quiet Friday evening into the deadliest mass shooting America has seen this year. 6 people dead, 3 different locations, all of them family. And here's what makes your blood run cold. Nobody saw it coming. Before we dive deep into this nightmare, if you're new to Mystoracrimes, do me a favor real quick. Hit that like button. Drop a comment telling me what you think about this case. Share this with someone who loves true crime as much as you do. And don't forget to subscribe and smash that bell icon so you never miss when we uncover these dark stories together. Trust me, you're going to want to stick around for this one. Now, let me paint you a picture. Clay County, Mississippi. We're talking about Cedar Bluff, this unincorporated area where everybody knows everybody. It's the kind of place where you wave at your neighbors, where families gather at the local apostolic church on Sundays, where your business is everyone's business. January 10th started like any other Friday evening. People were winding down from their work week, maybe thinking about weekend plans, completely unaware that evil was about to walk among them wearing a familiar face. 6:56 p.m. That's when the first 911 call came in. Can you imagine being that dispatcher? Hearing those words, gunshot victims, multiple victims, in a place where the most exciting thing that usually happens is a high school football game. Deputies rushed to David Hill Road, arriving around 7:03. What they found would haunt them for the rest of their lives. 3 men, all shot in the head. Glenn Moore, 67 years old. Willie Ed Geens, 55. Quentin Moore, 33. Father, uncle, and brother, all executed in their own home. But here's where it gets absolutely chilling. This wasn't some stranger who broke in. This wasn't a robbery gone wrong. The person who pulled that trigger had grown up with these men, had shared meals with them, had called them family. Derica Moore had just murdered his own father, his uncle, and his brother in cold blood. And you want to know the really terrifying part? He was just getting started. After killing 3 members of his own family, Derica didn't run. He didn't panic. He calmly walked outside and stole his dead brother's Ford F-150 truck. Think about that for a second. The brother he'd just shot in the head. He took his vehicle and drove off into the night with a plan. Now, I need you to really focus here, because what happens next is going to make you sick to your stomach. Derica Moore, with his family's blood still fresh on his hands, drove that stolen truck to 299 Blake Road, his cousin's house. A woman named Hannah Geens lived there with her children. Remember, in small communities like this, family ties run deep. These weren't distant relatives he barely knew. These were people he saw regularly. People who trusted him. He forced his way into that home. Can you imagine the terror? Your cousin, someone you've known your whole life, suddenly breaking down your door with a gun. But what Derica did next crosses into territory that's almost incomprehensible. According to court documents, he attempted to sexually assault someone in that house while armed with his handgun, and that someone was 7-year-old Makilia Geens, his second cousin, a child. Let me be crystal clear about what happened in that house, because the details matter, as horrifying as they are. Hannah Geens, Makilia's mother, watched her daughter die. She stood there with Makilia's siblings and witnessed this man, this family member, shoot a 7-year-old girl in the head, point blank, in front of her mother, in front of her brothers and sisters. But it gets worse. Investigators found evidence that Derica put his gun to another small child's head, another baby in that house. For reasons we may never understand, he didn't pull the trigger that time. Was it a misfire? Did he change his mind? Did something in whatever darkness had consumed him flicker for just a moment? We don't know. What we do know is that child came within a heartbeat of dying that night. Think about being lost, Hannah. Think about being those other children. The psychological trauma of watching your sister, your daughter, murdered right in front of you, knowing you were powerless to stop it, knowing that the person doing this was supposed to be family. These are the kind of scars that never heal. Sheriff Eddie Scott, a man with 30 years of law enforcement experience, later said this was one of the toughest cases he'd ever worked. 30 years. Think about all the things he must have seen in 3 decades of police work. And this one stood out. This one broke through that professional armor that cops have to develop just to survive their jobs. After killing Makilia, Derica left that house of horrors and got back in the truck. It was probably around 8 p.m. by this point. Most people in Cedar Bluff were sitting down to dinner, watching TV, living their normal lives. They had no idea that a monster was driving through their quiet streets. No idea that the body count was about to rise again. Because Derica Moore had one more stop to make. 1965 Salome Griffith Road, the Apostolic Church of the Lord Jesus. Now, here's something that's going to make your skin crawl. Some of the Moore family actually attended this church. Think about that. This was supposed to be a sanctuary, a safe place, a house of God, and Derica was about to turn it into a killing ground. Living on the church property were 2 brothers. Reverend Barry Bradley was a pastor, a man who dedicated his life to serving his community and his faith. His brother Samuel Bradley lived with him. These men spent most of their time in nearby Columbus, but on weekends they'd come to the church grounds. Maybe they felt safe there. Maybe they thought being in a house of worship would protect them from the evil in this world. They were wrong. Derica broke into their residence. Now, I want you to think about what was going through his mind at this point. He'd already killed 4 people. His father, his uncle, his brother, a 7-year-old child. Most people, even in the grip of whatever rage or psychosis had taken hold, would stop, would come to their senses, would realize the magnitude of what they'd done. But not Derica. He walked into that home and shot both Bradley brothers in the head, execution style, just like he'd done to his own family members hours earlier. Reverend Barry Bradley, a man of God, gone. Samuel Bradley, gone. 6 people now. 6 human beings who woke up that Friday morning with no idea it would be their last day on earth. 6 families shattered. 6 futures erased. And all by the hands of one man who, according to everyone who knew him, had never shown a single sign of violence before. After murdering the Bradley brothers, Derica took one of their vehicles. He hid his brother's stolen truck behind the church and drove off in this new car. When investigators arrived at the church later, they found that F-150 concealed there. Can you imagine discovering that? Following this trail of death and destruction, knowing that the person responsible is still out there, still armed, still mobile? By this point, law enforcement was in full crisis mode. Multiple agencies were involved. The U.S. Marshals had been called in. They set up roadblocks. They were hunting for a man who had proven himself capable of absolutely anything. A man with no criminal record, no history of violence, who had somehow transformed into a killing machine in the span of a few hours. And here's the question that had to be terrifying them. Was he done, or were there more names on his list? The manhunt intensified. Officers from Clay County, state police, federal marshals. Everyone was looking for Derica Moore. 11:24 p.m. The intersection of Pine Grove Road and Joe Myers Road. 4.5 hours after that first 911 call came in reporting gunshot victims. Law enforcement spotted the vehicle Derica had stolen from the Bradley brothers. They surrounded it. This was a moment. One wrong move, and this could turn into a shootout. More people could die. The officers had to be thinking about their own families, about going home that night, about the fact that they were facing someone who'd already proven he had no regard for human life. But you know what happened? Derica Moore surrendered without incident. No shootout, no standoff, no final blaze of glory. He just gave up, calmly, like flipping a switch. The same man who'd spent the evening systematically murdering 6 people just stepped out of a car and let them cuff him. When they searched him, they found both a rifle and a handgun. 2 weapons. We still don't know how he got them, but investigators are working on that. They took him to the county jail. He wasn't booked until after 3 in the morning on Saturday. Can you imagine being in that booking room with him? Looking into the eyes of someone who just killed 6 people, including a 7-year-old girl? What do you even say? What questions do you ask? Here's where things get even stranger. Monday, January 13th, 2026. That's today, actually. Derica Moore appeared in court. He's facing 11 charges total. 3 counts of capital murder for killing Makilia, Barry Bradley, and Samuel Bradley. 3 counts of first-degree murder for his father Glenn, his brother Quentin, and his uncle Willie Ed. Attempted murder of a child for putting that gun to the other little one's head. Attempted sexual battery. Burglary. 2 counts of felony vehicle theft. You'd think facing all that, knowing he's looking at the death penalty, because District Attorney Scott Colum has made it clear that's what they're pursuing, you'd think maybe he'd break down, maybe show some remorse, maybe try to explain what the hell happened in his mind that night. But no, Derica Moore stood there and entered not guilty pleas to every single charge. Not guilty. As if somehow there's an explanation that makes any of this okay. As if 6 dead bodies, including a child, can somehow be justified. Judge Jim Kitchens ordered a mental evaluation. Smart move. Because here's what we know. Derica Moore had 0 criminal record. Not even a traffic ticket. Sheriff Scott said he wasn't on their radar at all. Nobody saw this coming. So what happened? What breaks in a human being's mind that transforms him from a regular 24-year-old guy into someone capable of this level of horror? That's what everyone's trying to figure out. The community is absolutely devastated. We're talking about a small, tight-knit area where this kind of thing just doesn't happen. And it's not like the victims were strangers to each other. They were all family. One family experiencing this level of loss is almost impossible to comprehend. Edith Watkins Bradshaw, a cousin, said something that really stuck with me. She said that even Derica is still family, still a human being, and they have to love him too. Can you imagine having that kind of grace after what he did? I don't know if I could. Another cousin, Renee Gaines McMillian, said their family will never be the same, but they'll be stronger because of this. I want you to think about Losana Gaines right now. That mother who watched her 7-year-old daughter get murdered in front of her. The United Way set up a family assistance fund. There's a GoFundMe to help her. As of today, over $10,000 has been raised. But no amount of money brings Makilia back. No amount of money erases the image of your child being shot in the head by someone you trusted. This is the largest mass shooting in Mississippi since 2017, when Willie Godbolt killed 8 people near Brookhaven. He's on death row now, and Derica Moore is probably heading there too. But here's what keeps me up at night about this case. We still don't have a motive. We have no idea why he did this. What triggered him? Was it planned or spontaneous? Did something happen that day that set him off? Or had he been thinking about this for weeks, months, years? Sheriff Scott said it perfectly. We don't know what was going through his mind.
I will say at this point, we do not know a motive for these acts. Personally, I don't know what kind of motive you could have to kill a 7-year-old. It's just none out there that you can explain to me why this would happen. But again, as I say, and it shook me pretty hard too. But right now, like I said, my focus is the resolve of solving this case for our victims and being there for these families and doing what we can to support them. So in this case right here, again, this is reactive for us in this situation because this guy went on our radar. I mean, this is family members that he went after, and nobody has reported anything to us. So, again, it can happen anywhere. The best thing we can do is just stay on our toes and get out here and promote this anti-gun violence. It's just too much of it going on. We're seeing it, guns are readily accessible to anybody. No other injuries that's been reported. Again, this is ongoing. I can't tell you that we won't get a call in a few minutes, going somewhere else. But as of right now, just these 6 fatalities is what we've been made aware of. This is what we're investigating. but according to the statements, after the 7-year-old was violently murdered, a weapon was stuck to the head of a small child in the house also. We're trying to determine whether the gun misfired or whether he did not shoot the child. That part we don't know. That's something else we're looking at. That's how violent it was. To shoot one and stick a gun to another one, who I think is going to be younger than the 7-year-old. So there was several, I think a total of 3 kids in the house along with the mom. So even with the tragedy, it's a blessing that he didn't do more damage than what he did before he got out of there.
And if he's eligible for the death penalty, the district attorney's office is going to go for the death penalty. You got to have some cases. Typically I would consult with the victims and wait down the line. But there's some cases just that they've got to get the worst punishment. They've got to get the worst punishment. 6 people, one night, several different scenes. You've heard the allegations. They're about as bad as it gets. If he's eligible, we're going to go for the death penalty and let a jury decide his fate.
And that's the terrifying part. Because if we can't understand what caused this, how do we prevent the next one? How do we spot the warning signs when there apparently were no warning signs? Derica Moore was just a regular guy, 24 years old, no criminal history, no violent past. And then one night, he became a monster. So now I need you to think about this. Really think about it. What breaks inside a person that allows them to murder their own father, their own brother, a 7-year-old child? How does someone cross that line? And here's the question that should scare you the most. Could there be someone in your life, someone you trust completely, who has that same darkness hiding inside them? Someone who seems totally normal, right up until the moment they're not? This is what true crime forces us to confront. Evil doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it lives next door. Sometimes it sits across from you at family dinners. Sometimes it looks exactly like Derica Moore, unremarkable, unknown to police, trusted by family. Until suddenly it doesn't. If this case affected you like it affected me, I need you to do something. Hit that like button. Share this video because people need to know these stories. They need to understand that monsters don't always look like monsters. Drop a comment and tell me what you think happened here. Subscribe to Mystoracrimes and click that bell icon so you're here for the next case we dive into together. Because we're not just watching true crime, we're trying to understand the darkness in human nature. And maybe, just maybe, if we understand it better, we can see it coming next time. Stay safe out there.